Thanking you for tuning in to Hidden Sovereign Secrets Revealed. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This video is Unlocking the Power of Your Supermind for Success. Some years ago, an Egyptian woman was strolling on the banks of the Nile. Her curiosity was aroused by some broken pieces of clay, which had strange markings. Sensing a valuable discovery, she brought the pieces to authorities for examination. They proved of great value indeed, being ancient letters of Pharaoh Akhenaten. Supposing that woman, upon sighting the pieces, had merely reacted, "How curious," and passed on her way, she would never have known what she missed. Millions of people do exactly this, and that is why there are millions of panicky people. You must avoid this. Do not take a merely curious or even philosophical view of the ideas encountered in this chapter. Wholeheartedly receive them, treasure them, and be utterly practical. Make them of as much use as you would your dinner. A real philosopher is not one who goes around quoting airy ideas. As Henry David Thoreau stated, to be a philosopher is not merely to have subtle thoughts, nor even to found a school, but so to love wisdom as to live, according to its dictates, a life of simplicity, independence, magnanimity, and trust. Thoreau's keyword is live, but live fully. How can you start? Break away. Do it by short steps if necessary, but break away. No, you won't succeed the first week. There are too many people around you who will screech when you dare to leave them alone in their prison. They don't want you to get out. They want you to be as miserable as they. Your daring is an exposure of their weakness. Don't look for someone in whom to believe. Believe in yourself. The only authentic authority is your own original nature, and I will add, it is the only genuinely compassionate authority. Think of your search as the recovery of a precious gem which you have temporarily misplaced. Your secret psychic and cosmic self is supreme against all human odds. The chief illusion of man, a fable from the ancient East, tells of a wealthy but evil magician who owned large flocks of sheep. Not wanting to build expensive fences or hire shepherds, he devised a clever scheme. He hypnotized the sheep and told them all sorts of lies about their identities. He convinced one sheep that he was a lion, another that he was an eagle, and so on. He also hypnotized them into believing that everything he did to them was for their own good, and that no harm could come their way as long as they trusted him. So the gullible sheep served the selfish purposes of the wicked magician. Thus are men hypnotized also. The evil magician is their own set of false illusions. They not only think illusions are good for them, but haven't the slightest notion of their hypnotic state. While they dream, they do not know that they are dreaming. Chuang Tse. The chief illusion of man, that which breeds all others, is a false sense of self. A man is not who he thinks he is, Scottish philosopher David Hume points out. The identity we ascribe to the mind of man is a factitious one. This is so vital to grasp that we meet it frequently in this now. We can say this. Don't be afraid to let go of this acquired, invented identity, this false feeling of I. That is like being afraid to let go of a headache. That is what the imaginary I is, one great big headache. Big. When you first begin to suspect that you are not the person you think you are, you become increasingly disturbed. Disregard this as it is merely a cunning trick of the false self wanting to hang on to its fake existence at your expense. By patiently enduring the disturbance, you proceed to another great region, understanding, which is victory. Because there is no such thing as the usually conceived human self. There is also no such thing as human strength or weakness, wisdom or stupidity, success or defeat, goodness or evil, or other opposites like these. Nothing belongs to us. All belongs to God, to Supermind, or to whatever name you choose to call ultimate reality. The right kind of rebellion, imaginary identities create chaos within a person's psychological system. They cause conflict like two rams battering each other. A person may have an unconscious picture of himself being so strong that he is not bothered by sex passions. When sex thoughts pass through his mind, as they will, he wrongly calls them evil. Having labeled them as his own evil thoughts, he feels guilty and ashamed. He then tries to repress or deny them, and the more he does, the greater his agony. He does not see that he must let thoughts pass through his mind without identification, judgment, condemnation, or any other reaction. Now he is behaving in the intelligent way which cannot create conflict. There is conflict only when an artificial identity clashes with what actually occurs, as the invented or man-made thinking also vanishes. One such phantom is thinking that made self disappears. Painful someone or something is chaining you down, restricting your opportunities for advancement or enjoyment. Such faulty thinking is always accompanied by painful resentment toward those felt to be responsible for the chains. And that leads to useless rebellion, much like smashing a violin because our own playing of it produces disharmony. No one person can restrict any other person, not when you really understand. The chains exist only in faulty thinking. But there is a place in your quest for rebellion, the right kind of rebellion. Rebel against everything within yourself that you feel is artificial. Become what you are. You see, there is a vast difference between what the false self thinks and what the true self knows. So welcome self-exposure as you would welcome a purifying breeze in a stuffy room. Learn what you are really like, for then you learn what you can really be with the cosmic or supermind. It is not as disastrous as we might suppose to see our own nothingness. It is actually fulfillment. It only seems like disaster because of our fearful hesitancy to give up the tale's ego self. We pass through this dark tunnel by first entering it. No idea you could grasp will do more to free you from unnecessary burdens, including false guilts and duties. Human egotism is hell on earth. How much of the synthetic human self have you allowed to fall away from you today? That is the test of today's success. Why we must go beyond human thought life clears itself to the degree that we understand how the mind works. Human thinking is the process of comparing things. On the everyday level, comparison is useful. In buying a home, you compare several, selecting the one best for you. But there is no place for comparison in your inner life. If you call one thing good, you must also call its opposite bad. Then, if the bad comes your way, you suffer. If you call it good when you receive a cheery letter, you will feel bad when no letter comes. If you feel elated over your youthfulness, you will feel depressed at the thought of growing older. Where there is good, there must be evil. Lu Wang. Our thinking must not be influenced by these painful opposites, but rather it must generate from the awareness of the supermind. We must go beyond both the good and bad conceived by human thinking. Beyond it, we find a new good. To think from the opposites of good and bad is to be spiritually asleep. In this state of sleep, a man tears himself apart by trying to be what he thinks is good and avoiding what he thinks is bad. But it is impossible to be humanly good or bad, for of our human selves we have neither. There is only cosmic goodness. Every true religion teaches this, but few see it. What a revelation. This means you should never feel bad about your own supposed badness. That is the very thing that perpetuates it. Fear of badness means that you identify yourself with it. That is, you assume you are your own badness, which you are not, of your human self. You are neither good nor bad, but all this must be searched out until you see its esoteric meaning. Listen to the following dialogue. Question. Please show how this applies into the practical situation of friendships and social relations. Answer. When you are free from thinking in opposites, you neither accept nor reject anyone in the usual meaning of those terms. You are free of the loneliness involved in rejection and the conflicts that often come in accepting involvement with people. This provides a totally new kind of acceptance toward everyone, which is genuine love. Question. I'm sensitive to what others think of me. Answer. How on earth can another's thought about you harm you? It is your thought about his thought that harms. Change your thought. The chief cause of unhappiness is what I call mental movies. Mental movies are a misuse of the imagination. You know how it goes. You have a painful experience with someone, then run it over and over in your mind. You visualize what you said, what he did, how you both felt. As awful as it is, you feel compelled to repeat the film day and night. It is as if you were locked inside a theater playing a horror movie. To break out, be aware that you are running a mental movie. Be conscious of its mechanical hold on your mind. Then, by deliberate choice, break it off. Shake your head and break it off. Now at this instant, take a quick look. Where is your pain? It is not there. It has disappeared. You have now accomplished something great. You have proved that you can snap the film and its tyrannical pain. You are free, and you are free right now. Try the above method for yourself. Even though you succeed at first for just a split second, you have succeeded completely. Now, realizing that small success is possible, you can advance to great success. Secrets for a successful search of self: we must learn to ask correct questions like, why do I behave as I do? And how can I stop wasting my natural forces? These are right questions, for their aim is self-development. As an example of a wrong question, someone as, I'm nervous over a forthcoming event. How should I act when there? We can never know how to act correctly as long as we still live with a mind filled with false ideas and contradictory desires. Such a mind is always nervous and uncertain. But when living from the supermind, we know exactly how to act in every situation. As Sri Ramakrishna remarked, gold is gold, no matter where you place it. Incidentally, supermind. Thinking keeps us out of anxious situations in the first place. Learn to work for your own true benefit. The victorious life can be compared to a walled garden. Beauty and fragrance are there, but must be earned. There is no wide gate open to the public, for the garden would soon be trampled upon by the merely curious and by those who fail to truly value its splendor. The wall must be scaled with personal effort, for that is the test of sincerity. Does the seeker want the garden enough to exert himself in an attempt to gain it? If so, he will return again and again despite failure after failure, regardless of the seeming hopelessness of his task, and he will abandon all useless possessions that make him too heavy to climb the wall successfully. A major problem of the seeker is his inability to distinguish true sources of aid from false ones. In his bewilderment, he stumbles from one system or teacher to another, often falling victim to useless or dangerous doctrines. His hopes are raised to the heights of elation, but before long he tumbles down once more to begin another wearisome search. He can help himself. For one thing, he can see his present inability to judge between the real and the unreal. He can observe how his anxiety drives him into acceptance of anything promising quick relief. He can see that he is mistakenly placing emotional thrills before mental clarity. By seeing his own helplessness, he has revealed to himself a fact of gigantic benefit. By first detecting weakness in himself, he can then go on to discover true strength. Do not be impatient with your seemingly slow progress. Do not try to run faster than you presently can. If you are studying, reflecting, and trying, you are making progress whether you are aware of it or not. A traveler walking the road in the darkness of night is still going forward. Someday, someway, everything will break open like the natural unfolding of a rosebud. As we gradually come closer to home, we recognize it. There's a feeling of something vaguely familiar about everything, like visiting our hometown after a long absence. We sense a new closeness to where we used to be. John Greenleaf Whittier expresses it very well in his poem, A Mystery. No clue of memory led me on, but well the ways I knew. A feeling of familiar things, with every footstep grew how to win the truly valuable gain through loss. We now take up a psychic law which the human mind resists with all its might. Yet, when received and understood, it provides the inspired life. It is the law of gain through voluntary loss. In order to gain the new and superior, we must first lose the old and interior. In the physical world, an old chair and a new chair cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Likewise, in the psychic world, the mind has no room for both a true and false idea. One or the other must be there. For us to win the truly valuable, we must willingly give up the shallow and invaluable. A story will illustrate the point. It is retold from the Gulistan, or Rose Garden, the Persian classic by Saadi. Two friends, both the sons of emirs, were in Egypt to pursue their goals. One of them devoted his efforts to the attainment of wealth and political power. He succeeded, eventually becoming an Egyptian prince. The other son sought the fruits of science and mysticism, also succeeding. When the prince scorned his friend's lowly position, the philosopher replied, I am grateful for having ignored worldly fortune in favor of true wisdom. For one thing, I do not possess the power to harm mankind. Thank you for tuning into Hidden Sovereign Secrets Revealed. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your support.